The topic being Telco to Techco, hyper-personalized communication through CPaaS. And a moderator for the session, ladies and gentlemen, none other than Dario Betty from MEF. A huge round of applause for Dario, please. Inviting our esteemed panelist on stage, Sachin Gupta from Jio, Vikas Goel from Gupshup, Desh Bandhu Bansal from Comviva. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause. Gaurav Sharma from TransUnion, and Kunal Mittal from Globe Teleservices. Can we have a huge round of applause for our panelists on stage? Dario, over to you.
Thank you very much. I did tell you that, please, let's all sit down. There were some topics that I'd love to come back and talk to you. We put these Telco to Techco back after the networking meeting because we know it had the pulling power to attract people away from talking to each other. And this is one of the top topics, one of the top trends that we're seeing in the industry. And I love again that we have so many different perspectives in here. So we got operators, solution provider, part of a fraud element, everything that comes together. So I will let you will know them as well, introduce yourself one by one. But before we go into some of these, I was shared some information, I think, about why is Telco to Techco a hyper-personalized communication stage. So first of all, the information that I will share from the team was market-to-market forecast analysis on how bigger is the CPaaS market, which is $12.5 billion in 2022, just 2 years, just 2 years ago, expected to grow to $45.3 billion in 2027. There is a great growth coming up, but it's a growth that started from, at one point, simplifying the many operators, the many solutions. It was a question of connectivity. And then it became CPaaS, and potentially there, it was also looking at the different channels. So you have multiple operators, multiple channels, but now you've got multiple operators, multiple channels, multiple segmentations of customers that have to link to all of them. So we got a move not just to marketing, to single message to everybody, but to personal messages, to specific message to all of these people, hyper-personalized through the channels and the multiple delivery mechanism there. So how do we do all of these? Potentially by taking a different approach altogether, or maybe not, but these people will tell us. So I think I'm already eating into the very important time of today's question. So I'm gonna jump out straight into the first questions, which is why we are doing though. Why are we talking of changing a telco model to a technology model? I mean, is this really necessary? What are the drivers behind it? And to start this time, I'm going to start from the dash, from very end, from Conviva. Tell us a bit more of why you think Conviva, and give us an idea of your perspective from Conviva. Why do you think that we need to do this? There you go. You got me.
First of all, thanks to GTS and MEF for hosting this event. Excited to be on this panel. My name is Desh, and I head the cloud communications business at Conviva. And what we do at Conviva is take telcos to technology companies and help them derive the B2B monetization opportunity. In the CPaaS space, API monetization, API marketplace, and beyond that, we also have fintech and digitech solutions that we power. So to your first question, should I answer now or later about why? Okay. So the first, there are three reasons why telcos have to look at going from a telco business to a techco. Number one, that the B2C business, there is a huge pressure both on revenue because of competition, because of OTT channels, and so they have to find ways to be relevant to respond back to their shareholders in terms of the growth and EBITDA, right? So they have to look beyond the B2C. And what we have seen in the past is a lot of technology companies, let's say Twilios of the world and Googles of the world, which have used the platform connectivity which is provided by telcos and monetize either in form of data, let's say giving the personalized experience to the enterprises, and telcos have missed that bus. Right, so now is the time for them to both be relevant, be profitable, make that growth, and also use this growth opportunity which they have in terms of the assets, the telco assets that they have. And that's why it is imperative, it is, it's not an option, it is a must for them to survive, to go from telco to techco.
So it's a must to speak the same language as your customers say. You're talking to business customers, they have software, they buy software, deliver software services. So let's go and change around, because Gaurav, you're next to it. You come from TransUnion. You tell us more about TransUnion. Part of your business was known as Newstar to us as well, so a history about security. So why is it important to talk about software in security?
Yeah, thanks. First of all, thanks to MEF and GET as well for having us here. I come from TransUnion, which has a history that they recently acquired a company called Newstar. That's where I was. Essentially handling their, three key pillars, I would say. That's my day job, where we focus. Restoring trust into these channels, which are basically messaging and voice channels. And looking at ways how enterprises actually how we can create value for the enterprises. Of course, their willingness to pay needs to go up so that the whole ecosystem gets benefited out of that. And of course, the third one is the monetization aspect as well. In India, we have the brand which is called Sybil, so it's part of the TransUnion family. That's how we are. And Sybil brings the financial identity, and we bring the digital identity, if I can use that, in that sense. Telephone number asset, whether short code, long codes, are actually a very important asset for all kinds of communication these days. And not just telcos have realized it, the entire ecosystem has realized that. And in order to protect that, it's a very important element. And that's where the restoring of the trust element comes in. And as we go through the panel discussions, I'll go into details of the best practices that we've actually seen across the world where we've deployed these services, especially in the North American market, where we are the leaders in there, in US, Canada, then in France. We recently actually launched in Brazil. I want to share that news as well. Last month, we went live nationwide for all the carriers from bringing this trust back into these channels. This was a regulatory-driven effort, and it is across all carriers. It's not just one or two carriers. So as the panel discussion goes on, it's all about the trust, creating that back into the ecosystem, and that's how the enterprises can monetize, and the experience on the consumer side is the driving factor.
So we've heard, the enterprise world is changing software, digital. We heard that security is important. Kunal, talking from GTS, why do you think then that we need to move to software side as well? I'm sorry. Why are we moving towards this hyper personalized communication software platform? What is behind it?
Okay. Let's just go few years back when we talk about personalization. Just a panel before which talked about anti-fraud. There was a very classic example wherein a case of spoofing was discussed. A man in the middle comes and he acts like an enterprise and he tries to communicate with you. He would send you a personalized SMS with a fraud link to defraud you. That's personalization. Personalization is all about creating a trust, having higher conversion rates, and make the transaction as fast as possible. We all know the biggest sales happens when the relationship is the strongest. Relationship is personalization. So this is where we are moving to. We are moving towards hyper-personalization, creating more connect with the consumer, understanding their behavior so that we can create a trust and we can make the transaction faster.
Oh, very good. So faster transaction, faster, and security as well, competing with those. Well, talking to a platform then, I'm going one by one. We got Sachin Gupta, Reliance Jio, and you are a platform. You're the platform side of Reliance Jio. You're one of those operators but potentially, I would say, has already moved a lot further into the software and digital stack.
Hello.
Why have you done that? Why is that so important to volunteer?
So Gary, if I would say first of all, thanks for inviting me to be a part of this panel. As you clearly mentioned, and our topic is telcos to technos, I would say that Jio is the best example for that. We started the operations with the telco as a telecom company, but today we are not a telecom company, we are a technology company. Because there is a huge demand of various kind of the innovative solutions. Every enterprise customer is looking for that. And Jio want to provide each and every solutions which can cater to the end consumer. Just to satisfy the best customer experience with the help of the various platform, that's why we are into the technology. And I would say that there are lots of APIs are available today in the market which can be integrated with any kind of the platform, be it the CPaaS or the UCaaS, where we can utilize those APIs or consume those APIs to fulfill the requirement of end customers. The idea is how we can provide the personalized experience through these APIs so that we can satisfy the customers. So that is the idea behind that, and we are moving from telco to technologies today.
So we hear of more and more of the reasons why we're doing to move from a telco to a technos. I'm almost feeling that talking next to Gapshop, well, because you're not even a telco, are you? You don't work with telcos, but you deliver telco services. Oh, here we go. Are you the competitor out there? Are you delivering the WhatsApp messages, I understand? And doing it in a different native way, which is not a telco way.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah, thank you.
That's great.
First of all, thanks to MEF and GTS to inviting me over here. I think the question is, I would like to flip the question. I would say we should know what is the most important piece in this ecosystem is the customer. Now, if I am able to know where my customers are, I should be able to deliver services in the form and format in which customers want it. Currently, my customers are on OTT platforms. So as a platform service provider, we feel that we should be able to enable those kind of communication between enterprise and customers using this platform. That's why we are shifting away from a telco to a techco kind of concept where we can actually bring those experiences back to the consumer where he is right now. And we as a company are not, actually not here to replace any of the telcos. We are actually using the infrastructure and the ecosystem of telcos to deliver those kind of services to the end customer. So all in all, we can coexist. We deliver the services which an end customer wants it, which enterprise wants to use it, and that's how we are positioned ourselves.
Great. So thanks for this landscape. There are many reasons why. You all seem to agree somehow, which is there is a change happening out there. It's a change happening in the type of customers. Well, the customer itself are demanding this. The enterprises are demanding that. The technology is allowing, or even making us to fighting with fraudsters and others that are using the technologies. So the business overall is changing. So the whys are multiple and they're there. So, okay, let's look at what exactly is this, because some of those people out there might ask, well, okay, great. We're moving to a Techco. What does it mean? What is the technology behind a Techco? I'll start with Sachin, actually, because you have some of the stacks there.
Thank you.
So what have you done?
So I would say, if we talk about the previous old days of telcos, we used to send the SMS to the customers to communicate. And customer was having only one way to communicate with the service provider by calling the help desk number, right? And it happens like many times like customer has to wait in a queue to connect with the customer care executive, right? But today's scenario, if I talk about, the competition is so tough in the market, everyone want to satisfy their customers because everyone want to retain their customers. And for retention of the customers, definitely we will require to provide the best customer experience. CPaaS is a platform through which we can communicate via SMS, via text, via voice, and today if I talk about the video. There are companies in the market who are providing the interactive video communication also. right? Wispec is a company like, who is providing various kind of the, video interactive advertisement. So thing is like, kind of different kind of the technology which is coming into the market. The idea is how we can satisfy the customers with the different innovative solutions based on the different technologies.
So let me talk to somebody that represents, I'm going to play a bit of a little game with you, because you're a gap shop, but you've got an entire history. It touches many parts of the ecosystem. So you've been an operator, you've been in different parts, you've been a supplier. What do you think that makes that hyper-personalization communications happening now? What is necessarily to add to the ingredients of telcos?
It's a very difficult question, but a good question too. Yeah. So the need, the way I feel is that the end customer is always demanding to be on the latest platforms which are available. Now, for example, if I am on WhatsApp and my bank wants to communicate to me, saying that, hey, Vikas, this is your balance, this is how you withdraw your money, this is where your branch, where the branch is, this is how you can raise a complaint. So on a single platform, I'm able to access all the information which currently I have to go through voice, SMS, physical visit, email, and a physical document. So all of those experiences, I bring it down on one platform. Now, who's that company who's going to do that for them? It's companies like us, which is Gupsha, which is creating those kind of hyper-personalization routes, as well as platform which enables that frictionless experience at a fraction of cost, at a time of your convenience. There are no holidays. As somebody mentioned sometime back in 2001, 2002, one of the key methods by which enterprise used to communicate with customers were call centers. Yeah. Now, the experience with call centers is so bad today, just because the quality of the call center agents and so on and so forth. You find that experience being shifted on a OTT platform. Who's going to do that? It is companies like us, Gupshup, who's creating those kind of solutions for this enterprise.
And we've seen it this morning when we were showing some of the results of the consumer trust study. It shows phone, connecting by phones, and right now contact center is not the top 3 in India, right? In other countries might be, but not here. Well, great. I'll jump to Conviva, a company which is all about providing and managing some of those technologies for operators out there. So what are the ingredients for these transformations according to you?
So, what was just mentioned, that we look at telcos as connectivity providers, and technology companies, so cloud service provider like Gupshup or Twilio, see themselves as the techcos, and they don't want telcos to become techco. Okay? And this is what we enable telcos to say that you can directly go to enterprises, enable them to B2B2X revenue, and I think that's what Sachin in Jio is trying to do, and this is what we enable a lot of telcos to do. Now, there are many aspects for telco to be successfully transitioned from a telco to techco. I think it starts with culture, it starts with the kind of goals that they have, the leadership, and then it's the brand. Today, when a B2B enterprise wants to, let's say, do marketing, when they want to do profiling of their customer base, when they want to reach out, they're not going to a telco saying, okay, let me go to a telco. It's not a natural choice. They want to go to Instagram, they want to go to social media, right, and do that. And that is the change which has to happen. And for that, there are multiple things, as I said. I think it's the people, it's the brand, and it is the technology platform. We power the technology platform for the telcos, and I think a great example, and in the first panel of the day, we had E&, talk about how they have rebranded themselves from Etisalat to E&, and saying that we are a technology company. They have acquired a lot of assets in the healthcare space, in life sciences, etc. And they also work with companies like Conviva, where we partner and power their CPaaS API platforms to take them to that journey. Right, and they have been a great example of that transition. And but beyond the platform, I mean, we power many platforms, but not everybody is successful. What makes E& so unique is their brand positioning, the leadership, the way they are agile in their decision making. I think that is something that telcos lack hugely. So that's, I think, a prime example. I would really congratulate E&, for that journey.
Can I just quickly add a quick point here? So I might take a little different approach to this, but it's more for the industry to actually think about it, right? As they say, right, the most shiny car is probably not the best car. I'm not saying it is not, but it could not, there could be a reason why it is not. What is happening is that as the networks are actually opening up, and we have seen, and I use the word loose networks, right? There is a lot of stuff that actually goes past by. I hate to use the word that telcos are becoming dumb pipes, but actually there is a very important element that we need to consider. Technology is removing the friction, right? But it is also adding more complexity from the trust perspective. And if you don't look at that, it is all the technology is not going to actually, you will not be able to monetize it. You will not be able to reach to your customers who are actually looking to actually value that on both ends, on the consumer side as well as on the enterprise side. So it's very important to understand that technology is just an enabler. That's one half of the equation. The other half of the equation is how do you monetize it, right? And that is going to be very important if the trust is not there in the ecosystem. So just as a feedback from all the learnings that we've done in other countries. So we started in US, as everyone understands, people are not answering calls, people are not answering their SMSs for whatever reasons, right? And everyone understands those. Regulation is playing an important role, and in the States, they came out with the regulation of authenticating every call. So it's basically tokenizing. So you're essentially making sure that you can, all the way from the originating till the terminating side, you are actually injecting into the network, which is an authenticated model, and that can be trusted on the terminating side when it's delivered. And when it is delivered, the consumer is able to actually accept to that, and you're starting to restore that trust back into the network. So shiny car might still look very shiny, and it is still there, right? But it may not run that fast that your probably old cars might still do it through those bad roads.
So here we go. It's a review of everything we do. It's not just looking at the next stuff. It's how we deliver in next value. Because right now, some of the telco models are under threat by the fraud, the trust itself. Kunal, I think you're missing from this. What will be your ingredients for the hyper-personalizations, the Techco of these companies?
To comment on the first question, how do we transform from a telco to a techco? In my opinion, I think it is more of a co-creation model that has to be followed. Under my role, I take a lot of complex requirements from various telcos of various geographies. Some of them are very interesting, and we help them to solve a lot of use cases. One gap I have seen is working in the silos. So even if a telco has an R&D department, let's say a product department, but that product department cannot work in a closed room, develop a product, and it's not going to be successful, right? They have to work closely with the customers, the consumers, the enterprises, co-create the models, and that's how it's going to work out. Coming to the next question of the hyper-personalization, one of the very interesting use case which we recently delivered. With all the CPaaS and omni-channels, we have now the customer has multiple channels of communicating to an enterprises. But when you add a hyper-personalization to it, a consumer expects that, let's say today I communicated with my enterprise through SMS, and tomorrow if I choose to communicate through WhatsApp, then the technology must be powerful enough to take my history of yesterday's communication and continue from there. So different channels cannot be treated differently. A baseline has to be driven in a single point where the history of my conversations is taken as a reference to give me future outputs. So that's like one of the interesting NLP use case which we delivered, and ultimately it's working on very well.
Well, very good, because you're touching on use cases, and use cases are great to give a real sense of what all of this is about. So I'm gonna try ask you the same question about use cases. Let's start with Gaurav, because we'll come back to you right now, straight away. What does hyper-personalization mean in that, for a user, for a telco, when you're fighting fraud as well?
Yeah, so it's all about personalization. When I'm receiving anything, whether it's a voice call, whether it's a text message that's coming in, I decide what I want to read, right? It's not the other side who decides what I should be reading, right? If that's the case, then the equation is not equal. The element of all these social media aspects that people have actually consumed, I will give you simple use cases where things like when you have branded call coming in, right? I want to see the logo coming in of the enterprise that's actually coming in, but it's a trusted model. It's coming through the network. It's not an app that's actually delivering it to me. What that tells me is that I'm not only willing to accept that call, it's personalized to my viewer that I get on the display. Same way on the messaging side, I need the model to be actually trusted through the network and delivered through the network to me so that I can trust that. And that's where I personalize it. I could say that I'm okay getting the political calls, but I'm not okay to get calls of a different category, right? Which are telemarketing calls, for example, right? So I can personalize that on my view, right? And on the text messaging the same way. So it's important that the networks actually adapt to these models and bring that trust back again. I go back to the same model again and again, because if the trust is not there, the consumer is not going to accept that, the businesses are going to get hurt, and there is no money flow in that perspective.
Okay. It sounds like you're almost touching know your customer, but here is know your sender, or know your network, or know a lot of things. It's a network awareness thing. But a lot of things can be then delivered according to that. I'm gonna jump to Conviva and Dash as well. What do you think that hyper personalization would mean to as a use cases?
I'll just give a quick example of what we've been enabling in about 10 odd telecom operators today. Is a micro lending use case where what we do is based on the user history of ARPU, age on network, etc. We are able to assess the credit scoring, number one. And based on that, it's all AI based. And once you know the credit scoring, you know which channel they are most, likely to respond, whether it is in Africa, for example, USSD. Now WhatsApp is also catching up in Middle East and Asia, maybe WhatsApp, SMS, right? So we do a combination of these channels and then offer them those micro loans and also on dates when they are most likely to take it. And we have had default rates of less than 3-4%, which is very, very high because of using the telco data, giving them micro loans, having that right customer experience and communication, and enabling huge revenue uplift for operator, and going from a telco to Techco. Again, a great example of how typically you would think of others, technology companies, to leverage telco data and use these. Now we are enabling telcos to do that, which is unheard of. Very complicated, a lot of regulation, banking regulation and telco regulation. We have surpassed all that, right? So this is, a great example of hyper-personalization that we've been able to achieve in a lot of telcos.
And so personalization of channels will really bring some quantitative ROI to the business itself, knowing when, what channel to use. I'm going to jump to telco, because you just heard Sachin.
My take is, in a simple words, to provide the right content to the right customer, right? Which can give you the immediate conversion. Now, you know that, whenever customers browse any kind of the internet, we have the data analytics at the back end, where we see that, how much time he's spending and what kind of the content he's accessing, right? Basis on that, we can provide the right content to the right customers. So say example, if I am doing some shopping online, right? And I purchased one product from one particular brand. Basis on my analytics, the next time I will get the similar kind of the advertisement from the similar kind of the brand, where we can say that, this is the new product launched by the same brand which you purchased 2 months back. So chances of conversion will be very, very high, right? So in my terms, I would say that this is the hyper-personalization, which can help us to convert the customer into the actual sales by providing the right content at the right time.
So it's almost a relevance question, right? Which is $100 billion questions out there. Is how do you sell the right thing to the right person? In that case, I will ask Vikas as well. What do you think that the personalization is within your areas of communication?
Well, yeah, I think I like to relate one very, very recent example. I'm sure you would have followed the recent election in MP, and Fortunately for the CM over there, we have started the helpline on WhatsApp over there. And he was sending all these DBT transfers, which means to all the women, he was sending some kind of money. And post sending the money, he was able to send about 30-second video on a WhatsApp on all those registered numbers. And the beneficiaries were validated by their backend using the WhatsApp. Now that's the kind of personalization which has now turned into a vote, now turned into a talk of town or talk of nation, and most of the governments are, actually imbibing that. Currently, we have 3-4 chief ministers within the country who are already using our services to reach out to citizens, and citizens are using the same services to reach out to the CM. Now, as a citizen, I feel that I'm talking to the chief minister directly or the prime minister directly, and the chief minister feels that he's speaking to the direct beneficiary using these services. The second example which I'd like to give is a recent election where how our voting process is, you need to have a voter card, and nobody knows which is the polling station, where are they listed. So we engaged the chief electoral officer and MP, and he started guiding the voters saying that, hey, these are your candidates, this is the location where you need to go and vote, and these are the do's and don'ts, which generally I don't have an information, even as an educated customer. And third, very, very useful example, I think I mentioned to you that while as a consumer, while as an enterprise, I use various channels to communicate between each other. What we have realized is that in few of the discoms today, they are delivering their bills and payment link using WhatsApp, which is reducing their cost by 90%. They have come and told us that their call center traffic has dropped by 90% after using these kind of services. Now, question is that these are hyper-personalized. Yes, they are. Mm-hmm. They are instant. They remain on your headset, on your handset forever, and that's what we are doing. So I believe there's a lot of headroom in terms of improving these services, and this is what we are doing over here.
Well, I think you've all answered a lot of the questions we might have. We started from the why. We kind of touch on the what. Even some of the example specific people can do it. I guess the public out there is getting excited now. So let's give them some further feedback. Let's give them the best practice. People that have done it have learned from their own mistakes and from other people's mistakes. So what if you were to try and get to a technology company that is able to provide the relevance, the openness of the democratizations, the security, the ease of use of all of these great things. And who wants to go first? Who's got a magic recipe to share? Oh, we go around first, and then we go with this.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, so I think what is more important to understand is the business models are very complex. Whether you talk B2B to C or all kinds of models, the layers are many, right? So what happens is, as you actually lease these assets, which are very digital assets, across the ecosystem, there is a lot of good intent that is required to do the KYC, not just at the initiation point, but also on an ongoing basis. Not only do you have to realize that what is that asset being used for? Is it actually just a campaign that is being run behind? Is the campaign also on a rotational basis? Is it a different brand that's using the same asset? And how that asset is flowing through the ecosystem is very important to understand, because that's where your learnings are. And that's where your AI and ML also actually really helps. Because now you're not just learning the models, or that the end consumer who's actually behind it could be a brand. I mean, think about a layered model like there is a contact center, there is a brand behind it, and there is a UCaaS provider who's leasing these digital assets from these carriers, which are telephone numbers or short codes or long codes. How it is actually getting used in the entire ecosystem is a very important aspect that you have to understand. That's how you pass it through the network and deliver it. So if you keep tab of that, that's a very important learning process.
That's the information. And Ash?
Yeah. So two key aspects which, let's say, the end customer or B2B customer is looking for. One is great CX for their consumers and agility with the partner with which they are working. And these two factors a telco has to see when they are moving to a Techco journey. that whatever partners they choose, business models they choose, and the processes that they choose are agile enough, and they are delivering a great CX to the end consumers. And so I think the organization structure, which enables this agility for them to take decision and not go into a telco 1-year journey of deciding who the vendor is and then 2 years to deliver, right? So I think that is one of the key factors for me, to have the right org structure, branding, so that they can attract those B2B, and the right platform providers as partners who can provide ease of use for enterprises to come on board and deliver those services.
Oh, very, very clear messages there. May I ask you, Vikas, what would you share as a best practice? What should everybody do?
Well, see, I spent a lot of time with telcos and now with a Techco company over here. So I can give both sides of the table view. But what I feel is that, a telco is hardly is driven on the revenue, on the network utilization, and so on and so forth. While a Techco company is far more agile, far more, it has, ears to the ground and listening to the voice of the customer. The challenge is that how does a telco transform itself to a Techco? With the current avatar of telcos, it might be difficult for them to shift to a Techco company, but however, they can hive off at a different unit. And I think I heard that Etisalat has done similar kind of thing, and I believe some other telcos are already doing that. But this challenge will always remain, that whether a telco will remain a telco or whether a telco will become a Techco, because they have to forgo their core business operations and get into the agility part of it. But there are players like us, Comviva and a couple of them, who can help them in this journey. I mean, there's no need for them to redevelop the entire ecosystem. They can actually hire the experience of Techcos and resolve that last mile piece. The other part is that telco, besides any government of any state, are the only ones who have an access to all citizens, because they have their numbers. So they are sitting on a data gold mine. How is that they want to use this is very, very important for them. And in that case, a mindset change is required. So that's what my take is.
Sachin, you heard it, you're sitting on a gold mine, but apart from that, what would be your best practice that you want to share with us?
So I would share, in terms of the best practices, I think security is the major concern for each and every platform providers. From the consumer point of view, what kind of the data security we are maintaining at the back end is a very important factor. So similarly, if I talk about the BFSI sector, most of the corporate customers require to deploy the platform on premise rather than on cloud, so that they can secure the data, whether the platform is the GDPR compliances or in terms of health industry, it is, HIPAA compliances and all that. I think security is the major concern, which we feel like, it should be as a best practice, everyone should have to opt it.
Security. We need to do it in a way which is really respectful of everything that happens around that data and the value of the data. Kunal, I'll ask you to conclude for us. What would be the best practice you're going to share with everybody? What should we do?
Well, in my opinion, for the best practices, first we need to focus on the word of trust, which is flowing since the morning, which is of course very important. To cover this word, we need to have two things. One is a very stringent and a faster KYC process. When we talk about KYC, it is not an individual KYC of a person who's buying a SIM, but a KYC of the end user. That means the end enterprises, whomever are being onboarded on the platform to take benefit of all these hyper-personalized multi-channel services. Secondly, today's world is all about collaboration of different technologies. So we'll also need to explore what technologies can we impart into this whole ecosystem that would create further trust. Things like blockchain, what Gaurav mentioned, stir and shaken. These technologies will enable us to properly track the flow of the messages right from the origination to the termination. If there are any problems in between, if there was any cases of defrauding a user, we know where it came from. With this in mind, as Rajiv had presented, one of our affiliate companies, FinBrain, takes care of digital KYC, digital identity, and one of the products at GTS, which is blockchain-based DLT. So we are already thinking into that direction, trying to cover many bits and pieces. But of course, as I mentioned, today's world is all about collaboration, and we need to see how do we fit all these pieces of puzzles to make the whole picture clear and a perfect one to look at.
Your pictures, I think, very difficult to get the entire pictures, but you've done a great job all throughout describing the why we want and what next. We still have questions. We still have just about time. You know, that's what happens when you go an Italian managing and moderating a panel. I'm afraid, you know, time is difficult for me. But we do have one question over there. Could you introduce yourself and direct the question?
Yeah, my name is Nitin Charan. I am from Amdocs.
So could you restart with your name again? Sorry, now that you got your microphone on. I hope.
Testing.
Oh, we're going to have a one for you. Full start, but there we go.
So my name is Nitin Charan. I am from Amdocs. And firstly, thanks to all the panel discussions that has been happening since morning. And I'm intently listening to everyone. See, my thought process is about a dream, the end state that all of us in this world want to reach to. If you look at any simple man, man is simple, is just walking, doesn't need a lot of complications in life. So the idea is coming to simplicity. And all that we are working is simplicity here. So look at the fact that if, you know, on one side, we have this ecosystem, which is a super intelligent ecosystem that we are together as every stakeholder is putting together. On the other side, which is my point here, is to make the human a superhuman, meaning your customer or even employees, they are superhuman is our next goal. If you look at the evolution of people, we came to a point, you know, we are erect, we have intelligence. But with all this new technology and everything, we are going towards a superhuman. Means your customer or my customer is a superhuman that we need to enable to. And this whole ecosystem, MEF forum, should be a super intelligent stakeholder across the board, enabling that. That's the point I'm trying to drive, so that, you know, there is a clear direction to reach to this goal. Do you agree with this kind of a concept, or is it too like dreamy a goal?
So we got superhumans, and we got super panel here. So who would from the super
I think
panel?
make life simple for your customer is definitely the end goal of hyper personalization. So definitely relate to that point. The other one, maybe we need to talk a little more in the break.
Oh, we'll come back to it. Anybody else on that? I think on that one, time's is up. So thank Desh for helping us to conclude. But simplicity is a very big theme, and we'll come back to that as well. I'd like to thank all of the panelists. Please stand up and let's give them a round of applause.